Elon Musk wants to send humans to Mars. SpaceX has plans. NASA has plans. There are serious, intelligent, well-funded people who genuinely believe that within our lifetimes, human beings will set foot on the red planet. And that is genuinely exciting. It is also, based on current science, an absolutely spectacular way to die in 6 different ways. You've probably read The Martian by Andy Weir, or seen the movie. Matt Damon, stranded on Mars, grows potatoes, stays remarkably upbeat, survives through sheer optimism and botanical genius. NASA even worked with the filmmakers and embraced the movie as a way to spark public interest in Mars exploration. And it still got several things spectacularly wrong. I'm C, this is What the Flip Side, and today we are going through 6 survival problems standing between humanity and Mars. What the science actually says, what the Martian glossed over, and why Mars is both more terrifying and extraordinary than we ever thought. Let's go to Mars. Theoretically. We're on the couch, where it's safe. Before we talk about surviving on Mars, we need to talk about surviving the trip. A round trip could take approximately 3 years, which the Martian actually seemed to get right. One way alone would take 7 to 9 months with current technology, all while in a tin can, in space. The longest any human has ever spent in space in a single trip is 437 days. That person came back and they had to be carried off the spacecraft because their body had basically forgotten what gravity was. The problem is what happens on the way. Your bones lose roughly 1 to 1.5% of their density every month. Muscles waste away. Your cardiovascular system weakens. Fluid drifts towards your head, putting pressure on your eyes and gradually damaging your vision. By the time you land, you are weaker, partially blind, and your bones are significantly more fragile than when you left. And now you have to land on a planet and accomplish surviving on a planet things. So you step outside on Mars without a suit. You get 15 seconds of consciousness, maybe a minute before you're dead. Mars' atmosphere is 95% carbon dioxide, unbreathable, and toxic, with atmospheric pressure roughly 100 times less than Earth's. At that pressure, the liquid in your body begins to vaporize. You effectively boil from the inside. But at least you lose consciousness and start to suffocate within seconds, so there is that. It's just Mars' way of saying I love you. So in The Martian, they got the need for constant protection right. However, they got the opening storm completely wrong. A 100-mile-per-hour wind on Mars has the same force as roughly an 11-mile-per-hour wind on Earth. So the greatest Mars survival story ever told was triggered by a weather event that would have been, in reality, a slightly breezy Tuesday. The numbers here are genuinely shocking. Surface temperatures range from around 20 degrees Celsius during the day to minus 153 degrees Celsius at night, depending on the time of year. Minus 153 is colder than Antarctic winter nights. It is colder than the temperature at which carbon dioxide freezes solid. In Martian winter, dry ice literally falls from the sky. Your habitat needs to be extremely well insulated. Your power systems need to be completely reliable. Because if heating fails at 3 a.m. on Mars, the situation deteriorates very quickly in a very permanent direction. Planet-wide dust storms can also block the sun for weeks or months, cutting off your primary power source entirely while the temperature is doing what it does. Mars is testing you. Mars is always testing you. Mars does not care about your plans. Earth has 2 things protecting us from radiation: a thick atmosphere and a global magnetic field. They work together like a planetary bouncer, turning away the worst of what the sun and deep space throw at us constantly. Mars has fired its bouncer. Millions of years ago, Mars lost its magnetic field and most of its atmosphere, and it has apparently had absolutely no regrets about this decision since. The result? Radiation levels are off the charts. A multi-year mission could increase an astronaut's lifetime cancer risk by over 5%. It penetrates habitat walls, damages the central nervous system, compromises the immune system, and based on animal research, causes cognitive impairment and increased cancer rates in the lungs, liver, and brain. You cannot feel it happening. You cannot see it happening. But Mars is just quietly running up a tab on your biology the entire time you are there. Yes, you can theoretically grow crops on Mars. The basic mineral and chemical content of Martian soil can actually support plant growth. So the potato plan, while deeply stressful to watch, is not completely insane. Here's the problem though. Martian soil is full of, which I have butchered 3 times trying to say, so I'll just call them perkies for short. Perkies are chemical salts that we use here on Earth for rocket fuel, explosives, and fireworks. They are extremely toxic to humans, and any soil would need extensive treatment before anything edible goes anywhere near it. So the soil is there, you just can't use it yet, because it's full of rocket fuel. In The Martian, he farmed with that, along with his own waste, while slowly being irradiated, and the film presents this as the hopeful part of the story. Now, add in the fact that no resupply mission is coming for years, your prepackaged food degrades, and oh, if your crop fails for any reason, and on Mars there are approximately 47 reasons it might, there is nothing coming from Earth anytime soon. On Earth, a failed dinner is a takeaway order. On Mars, a failed crop is 4 astronauts trying to figure out which one is the least essential. So water does exist on Mars, which is genuinely good news. Here's the slightly complicated part though. The water is saltier than anything easily found on Earth. Much of that salt is perkies, the rocket fuel compounds again, which would damage the thyroid gland, skin, and gastrointestinal tract. So the water is there, you just can't use it yet, because it's full of rocket fuel. Man, Mars has a theme, and the theme is rocket fuel and everything. The soil, the water. Hold on. Maybe I can figure out a way to use this. Okay, obviously I can't, but it sounds like scientists already have a plan, so listen to this. Mars is covered in rocket fuel. The rocket fuel is poisoning the soil. The rocket fuel is poisoning the water. The rocket fuel is actively trying to kill us in several creative ways all at once. So we are sending bacteria. Bacteria that eat rocket fuel. And when they eat the rocket fuel, they clean the soil. And when they clean the soil, we can grow food. And some of the bacteria also produce oxygen while they eat the rocket fuel, which we can breathe and potentially use as fuel. So the rocket fuel that was trying to kill us becomes food, air, and more fuel because of bacteria and science. Anyways, back to water. Water ice at the poles and underground glaciers has a lower perky concentration, but desalination technology would need to run constantly, and that would compete with every other energy demand on the planet. And also, your drinking water supply will involve recycling everything. Sink water, shower water, urine, water vapor from breathing, all of it, filtered, back in the glass. So if you haven't already eaten your coworkers, at least you can continue to drink their recycled water products. Every single one of these problems is being actively worked on right now. Advanced radiation shielding, underground habitats, closed-loop farming, water recycling, anti-radiation medications, all closer to a solution than 10 years ago, but none of them are solved. Except maybe one. Oxygen. In 2021, NASA landed a box on Mars called MOXIE. Its job was to take the Martian atmosphere, 95% carbon dioxide, completely unbreathable, and turn it into oxygen. It worked. MOXIE produced oxygen on Mars 16 times over 2 years at 98% purity, 122 grams total. Roughly what a small dog breathes in 10 hours, so not enough to keep anyone alive, but that's not the point. The point is that a device that is only the size of a microwave, sitting on another planet 140 million miles away, pulled breathable air out of a poisonous atmosphere. Scaled up versions could produce enough oxygen for astronauts to breathe and get home. We went from can we make oxygen on Mars to yeah, here's how big the machine needs to be in only 2 years. So, Mars. Lethal atmosphere, radiation from every direction, temperature swings that would kill you in minutes, toxic soil, toxic water, a 9-month journey that leaves your body barely functional on arrival. However, bonus, only slightly breezy at worst. And yet, people are going. Not because it's safe, not because it's easy, because it is the next hard thing our species has decided to do. And if history has taught us anything, it's that humans are at their most extraordinary when the situation is most impossible. But if you aren't one of those people, the couch is still right here with an incredibly strong survival record. So you could just sit and watch The Martian. Remember, not all movies have to be 100% right, they just have to be good. We have many more stories like this coming up, mostly just things we find interesting and decide to take a deeper look at so we can all understand it a little better and have some fun along the way. If you haven't already, drop us a like and subscribe. I still have a lot to learn and share. I'll see you in the next one.